All righty, welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch, and we have a amazing show for you today. Now, a lot of things to talk about, especially here in New York. We're getting a lot of mixed signals. A lot of parents are out there trying to sue the mayor and the governor to get schools back to full in-person learning. Okay, I believe right now it's this hybrid model. They call it blended. Parents want their kids in school overwhelmingly, if you ask me. Okay, at the same time, our sick, demented mayor here in New York City has decided that there are spikes in some small areas, and he's now closing schools in selected areas of New York City and Long Island. So now parents are fighting for more schools to open, and our leadership is fighting for more schools to close. And I hate to say it, but this is usually when there's an explosion, and parents are going to flip out right now if he changes course and starts ending in-person learning. Because I can tell you myself, my son in particular wants to go into school and see his friends, and he likes that much better. He feels like he's not learning a lot at home. Now, a lot of people are talking about the 25th Amendment, about how, you know, if Donald Trump is under the effect of steroids or he's under the effect of different drugs, and, you know, will that affect his ability to think, and you know, if Trump, just so you know, you can listen to all this talk on the left, okay? If Trump is unable to govern and relinquishes power, okay, Pence could take the matter to the cabinet, and if both 2/3 of the House and the Senate agree, Mike Pence would assume power, okay? That's in the worst of worst case scenarios, okay? Donald Trump would have to say, I am incapacitated, and then he would have to tell Pence you could take power, and then Pence would have to go to the cabinet and get 2/3 of the House and the Senate to agree for him to assume power. So as it stands right now, it sounds like a high task. So don't listen to the left telling you, oh, they're going to knock him out, blah, blah, blah. No one's going to call this guy incapacitated, and that's why he's standing on the balcony to show people that he's okay and he's still in the game. And to me, all this talk is crazy hogwash. But someone who knows a lot more about this than me, and we bring in the best guests at all times. It's her first time joining us. Esther Valdes is with us. She's an immigration attorney, GOP strategist. She's also a commentator and Trump supporter, and she's a school board official, DACA expert. And Esther, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Good morning.
So, Esther, I was just going through a little bit of, you know, the basics on the line of succession. The left-wing media is driving, you know, regular folks crazy, thinking that somebody's going to come in and kick out Trump and the deep state's going to take over and they're going to make Nancy Pelosi the president. You're an expert on this stuff. What's the real deal? What is happening, and what is the worst-case scenario?
I think the liberals are really experiencing the worst case scenario nightmare for them. They know that if something happens to Trump, they don't know whether to wish him death, ill will, or for his complete healing, because Vice President Mike Pence stands ready to lead and ready to act from day one. Vice President Pence is a strong, solid conservative with none of the baggage that they seem to accuse the president of, such as his brashness, his boldness. This is a man who's already been 12 years in Congress. He's been in Washington, D.C. for the last 4 years, and he's an extreme conservative. So they're trying to react and trying to play up this scenario that is very unlikely, especially because the president has now been discharged from the medical facility treating him for coronavirus. So all of those scenarios where Nancy Pelosi is then going to become president of the United States are likely not going to happen. But what could happen is a likely scenario if the president develops complications because of his age, because of medical conditions such as his obesity. What would then happen if the president should experience a malaise or even death after the election? Then we have multiple scenarios where the Republican Party, if they do win on election day, would then nominate Mike Pence to be the likely successor Or even if the Electoral College votes have not yet come in, they would then nominate a successor, and then Vice President Mike Pence would also nominate a vice president for himself.
Wow.
That's a scenario that we saw with Richard Nixon when he was removed from office.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So there could be a scenario, in a worst case, where Donald Trump was incapacitated, Mike Pence wins as vice president, he assumes the power as president, and then all of a sudden the Electoral College has another vice president and he gets to choose a vice president. This might be, this might be quite the historical election.
There's so many scenarios also at play. What happens when the Electoral College votes haven't been ratified by Congress yet, but then we have a president-elect with that has become incapacitated or died. Vice president assumes office from day one. So really what we're looking at tomorrow with the vice presidential debate is really possibly the presidential debate. We're going to be able to see Kamala Harris for all her liberal policies. I'm here in California. We have experienced and been scorched, not just by the fires, but by her extreme liberal policies here in this state. And the nation will be able to judge her for that when compared to the solid conservative values of Mike Pence.
Hey, Esther, thank you so much for joining us on Liquid Lunch. Let me ask you, you're an immigration attorney, you're a commentator on TV on immigration. Are you American-born? Are you first-generation American?
First generation, the only one from my family that was born here in the United States.
So you have a pretty good look at, your family lineage on how they got here, how they came to establish themselves here. And I find this continuing pattern with people that came here and went through the right processes over the years to become naturalized, become a citizen. Those people seem to support Donald Trump even more because they feel like everyone should have to go through the same process. Is that how it is in your family?
My family had to earn it. Not only that, but I have an immigration law practice. All of my clients vote for Donald Trump as soon as they become citizens, because not only that, but they have firsthand experience as to socialism, and they left the poverty, the violence, the civil instability, and a lot of the economic failed policies of the socialist left. So they know firsthand what America is in for if they vote for a Biden-Harris ticket. So they have all the love and fervor for this country, but also the firsthand experience that these policies will not work if they are entrenched here in the United States and if we refute the founding principles of the U.S. Constitution.
So let me ask you this. What is the nation of origin for your family?
My family's from Mexico, as is all of my extended family. And contrary to a lot of the media assertions, between 30 to 40% of Latinos do support this president, are conservative. And you've seen that in poll after poll, especially in a lot of the battleground states, such as Texas and Florida. Latinos are going to support this president in numbers that may even surmount the Bush ticket that achieved 40% of the Hispanic support. Biden is trailing, and he knows that, not just with Latinos, but also with African Americans, because as soon as people realize that what he's had 45 years in office and never effectuated the gains, the historic economic, home ownership, low unemployment rate that this president has achieved in 4 years in office, it is causing a lot of Latinos to finally leave the ghetto and the barrio in which they designated us for so long and taken us for granted.
Wow. You know what? I came across it firsthand about 9 months ago. I was down in Miami for the Democratic debates, covering it for the network. And I was going into these small shops, a lot of Cuban Americans down there, and asking them how they felt about Trump. And these, good old-fashioned, hardworking people who immigrated here legally are like, we love Trump. And I was thinking maybe I was going to get the opposite. So it is pretty amazing what he's done. And it's pretty amazing to get you on and break some of this stuff down for us. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
That's Esther Valdes. She is an immigration attorney, GOP strategist, and supporter of Donald Trump. Thank you, Esther.